Grumble, grumble. Hey everyone, it's the Grumpy Meeple, and I'm coming at you today with a look at the veteran rival enemies from the Shadows of Brimstone Adventures Kickstarter. We're going to start out by looking at the Samurai War Party, because there's a lot of content here, so I'm going to go through them one by one. So, what are the veteran rival enemies? Well, I'll tell you. As ruthless versions of other heroes, the rivals are one of the deadliest enemies in the game. There are 3 different sets of enemy rivals: the Old West rivals, Feudal Japan rivals, and Conquistador and Viking rivals. This rulebook details the rules for all 3 of these sets. Using rival heroes is a fun way to see your hero models in a new light. Yes, it is. So this is a really cool addition to the game. And I believe that they did something similar in Forest of the Dead. Forest of the Dead is one of the boxes that I still haven't unboxed. So I'm not 100% sure. But the idea here is, hey, let's take all those, it's giving you more ways to leverage the models that you already have. So if you already have Forbidden Fortress, you have the sorceress and the traveling monk and whatnot. But if you're not playing as them, then they're just sitting in the box, right? Well, now this lets you add them to really any mission type, and all of a sudden you can be fighting that very same traveling monk. And so you're getting more use out of your models, you're getting more enemies for your game, and thematically it's really cool, the idea that they're kind of maybe competing with you, or that they've portaled in from feudal Japan into Tradera and are stalking you or something. There's all sorts of cool thematic stuff that you can do with it. So basically, yeah, each of the 3 rival card sets comes with an enemy record sheet to represent that type of rival group. Basic stats are listed on the record sheet, are the baseline for all rivals of that type. The enemy record sheets are meant to represent general fighters of that era, and the abilities and stats they have are designed to feel like you are fighting actual heroes rather than just any other group of enemies you come across. All of the rival record sheets include a brand new rival specialties standard ability at the top of the abilities box. This allows them to use the special set of rival character cards unique to that particular set, which allows for individual models within the group to be themed for a specific hero class. So this is where it gets really crazy, is the rival specialties, there are a couple of different ways that you can use this set. You can use it as just a standard enemy type. So you just get your threat cards, which here you can see you've got, your 2 low, which are going to bring in 1 to 2 Samurai War Party rival enemies. You're going to roll to figure out how many. Your medium, your high, and your epic, where it's going to be a whole posse. And then you use them just off of this sheet, just like you would anybody else. So in the kind of basic gameplay, they have initiative 4. They've all got armor 5+. They've got sword fighting, which means this enemy's melee to hit rolls of 6+ ignore defense. And they've got feudal grit. Once per attack, this enemy re-rolls one of its missed 2 hit rolls and its damage rolls of 1 or 2. Interesting. So once per attack. I see. Okay. Move 5, escape 4, range 4, melee 4, doing 2 combat. They do a d6 for damage, just like you do, which is cool and thematic. And they've got a defensive 3 and 12 health. And then for their elite chart, Warrior's Discipline, they are now melee to hit 3+. Darkstone upgrades, they get +1 combat, +1 shot, and +1 defense. Whew, that is... Whew. Darkstone armor, +3 health, and rival enemy armor may not be ignored. They've got Deshayo, +1 combat and +1 initiative. They've got Reputation. Each rival enemy gains Terror 1. A hero starting their activation on the same map tile takes 1 horror hit. That is by far the least dangerous of these. And then Otherworld Gear. Draw a random world card. Each rival enemy gains D3 artifacts from that world. See rules on veteran rivals for further details. So not only can these guys... So that's your basic gameplay. You take these components, you throw them into your threat deck, you're good. But you take it to the next level when you get into the rival character cards. And these are what allow you to face these characters as true, like, leveled up heroes, basically. So you get one for each class. So, you're getting one for the Sumo, the Daimyo, the Geisha, the Enforcer, the Soldier, Kitsune, Sorceress, the Assassin, Traveling Monk, and the Samurai Warrior. And you can see here that within their specialties, they have all sorts of new abilities. Massive. This model is large size. It also loses battlefield gear, but gains tough, immune to critical hits, and +8 health. And then he's got multi-hand slap. This model makes its full combat attack against every adjacent hero. For each of these hits a hero takes, that hero is pushed back 1 space directly away from the Sumo. So they become like uber baddies if you take it to the next level and decide to include the rival specialties. So here they talk about the difficulty scaling. Rival character cards allow for players to scale the challenge and complexity of the rivals they run into. Whenever a rival enemy group enters play, you can choose to face them as common, standard, or heroic. For common, you ignore the specialties and fight them as they appear on the enemy record sheet. For a standard group of rivals, half the models in the group, rounding up, get a rival's character card drawn for them. These are the standout champions of the group, and the rest represent henchmen or less experienced members of the group. And finally, a heroic group of rivals is for players that want to dive into the deep end, where every rival model gets a rival character card drawn for them. This adds a bit more to keep track of, but really gives the full feel of fighting a team of enemy heroes, where each model has its own style and personality. It can also be a really tough challenge of a fight. Yep. And then it goes on, talk a little more randomly about it. Yeah, and then you've got the veteran rivals. Some of the threat cards and elite abilities to the rivals even allow them to draw a few artifacts or gear cards pulled from the normal hero card decks and used by the enemies against you. Maybe this group of rivals just returned from the Targa Plateau and one of them has a Trun Disintegrator he's been itching to try out. So this allows them to wield artifacts and gear against you. So if you can imagine the horror of facing these guys it looks like at the high level and above, each of these enemies starts with 1 fortress artifact and D3 -1 gear cards. 3 of these rival enemies start with a fortress artifact card each. So just imagine going up against one of these guys and they've got, it's an example, the dueling dagger. So they're all of a sudden at +1 initiative, and their combat hits are +1 damage if their agility is higher than the target's defense, and an extra +1 damage if also higher than the target's initiative. So they don't get stats like agility as far as I know, but this would still give them +1 initiative and potentially +1 damage on all their attacks. So that is a really, really cool wrench to throw into the works here. Oh, but it does say, note, rivals do not gain initiative bonuses from gear artifact card. Okay. And then they talk about how the artifacts and gear work. For a hand weapon, it modifies the model's melee attack as listed on the card. For a ranged weapon, at the end of the rival's move, it makes a free extra attack with this weapon at a random hero. Good God. Note that this may allow a rival to make several attacks during their activation. Yeah, I would say so. And then for any other item, for any non-weapon item, the rival enemy gains +4 health as well as any modifications to move or armor listed on them. But if you're facing them as veterans and they have these artifact cards, you have the potential to actually get their loot, potential bonus loot. At the end of a fight, the heroes may roll a d6 for each artifact gear card that rival enemy had, no grit. On a roll of 6+, a random hero may take that item in addition to their normal loot for the fight. That's really cool. They have group initiatives, so they always share an initiative value. That's why you can't alter their initiative bonus. When rival enemy group activates, each of the rival models that are part of the group should be activated individually, one at a time. Okay, so they activate a little differently. They count as a single enemy group for targeting the heroes. Whenever a hero is targeted by a rival enemy, place a targeted marker by that hero. Any appropriate marker can be used for this to show. So, I would probably use the hero markers, especially if you're fighting rival specialties, on heroic or standard. Yeah, so, and then they prioritize targets that don't already have a targeted marker on them. This allows the rivals to spread their attacks between the heroes, even though the rivals are activating one model at a time. And then some of them will have shootout. And then that's it. So let's take a look. We'll start off by taking a look at the kind of 2 rule cards that come with them, and then we will look at the individual specialty cards. All right, now that we're zoomed in here, let's take a look at the rule cards that come with these bad boys. So this one is just recapping the types of rivals you can face. If you're facing common, then no rival specialty cards are used. This keeps it simple. Standard, draw a rival specialty card for half the models. Each card drawing only affects the individual model. And then heroic, draw one for every model in the group. Each card drawn only affects the individual model. This can make a fight more complex, but also makes it feel more like a team of unique characters. We talked about that. And then the rival specialties. Enemies with the rival specialty ability have an additional set of cards to represent individual champions. Should only be drawn from those that include the icon of the matching enemy group. And then we've got our kind of, I suppose this is just your generic kind of descriptor of the rival enemies. So, where the hell do you start here? Veteran rival enemies. Yeah, so this is for veteran rival enemies. Some rival enemies start with artifact or gear cards. Talked about that. This just gives you those rules again. And then the bonus to loot. We don't need to go through all that. All right, here's where we get to the real fun. Because we are taking a look now at the individual rival specialties. So you got the sumo, we talked about him. Next up, the daimyo. He's got the soldier keyword. He's got the daimyo pistols. I'm trying to cut down on the glare here. Bear with me. There we go. At the end of his move, makes a free ranged attack at a random hero within range. Range 4, shots 2, damage P. Whew. Warlord tactics. All enemies on the board do +1 damage with their attacks and heal 1 wound at the start of each turn, including himself. Good God almighty. And then Entourage adds D3 extra rival enemy models to the group that do not have a rival specialty. Cool. That is brutal. You've got the Geisha or the Kabuki, the Performer, Stealthy Dance, loses battlefield gear, gains +2 defense, -2 health, and retargets each turn. Hidden Dagger. Every hero adjacent to this enemy at any time during her move takes 1 wound, ignoring defense and armor. Jesus, I wish that the actual fucking heroes had these abilities. Maybe they do. Presence. Every other enemy on this model's map tile at the end of a turn heals D3 wounds. Insane. Here you've got the Enforcer, the Outlaw. Hard Knocks. Loses battlefield gear. Gains tough, immune to critical hits, and endurance 3. Takes no more than 3 wounds from any hit. Shakedown. Each of this model's hits that wound the hero also forces the hero to lose 10 gold. I can't believe that they ported that over. Oh man, that's funny. Here you've got the Soldier. He's got the Flintlock rifle. This model gains the Shootout standard ability, but loses sword fighting. It also gains the following ranged attack. Range 10, shots 1, damage 2d6. Sharpshooter. This enemy's range to hit rolls of 6+, ignore defense. So he can crit. The Kitsune. Stealth fighter. Loses battlefield gear, moves through other models, and retargets each turn. Pounce. Only moves the shortest distance to reach a target. Gains +1 combat on that attack for each space move to reach the target. Max +3. Whew. And then Common Knives. Heroes with better than defense 4+ only count as having defense 4+ against this model's attacks. Here you've got the Sorceress. Elemental Blast. This model is reduced to combat 1 and melee to hit 5+. It also gains Shootout and the following ranged attack. Range 10, shots 2, damage d6. Each hit counts as d3 hits on the target. My God. Elemental Magic. Whenever the Hold Back the Darkness roll is failed, roll a d8. 1 to 2. Oh my God. 1 to 2 is a fireball. All heroes take 1 hit with d8 damage. Quake. All heroes take 2d6 basic hits. Windstorm on a 5 to 6. Heroes are -1 to hit this turn. 7 to 8 Flood. Heroes are -3 to move this turn. Whew. Man, these are some brutal ass fucking enemies. I love it. Here we've got the Assassin. Shuriken. At the end of this model's move, it makes a free ranged attack at every hero within range. Range 4, shots 3, damage 3. I mean, like, these are so much more powerful than the fucking hero versions. It's hilarious. They're deadly. This model's combat hits are +2 damage and ignore armor and dodge. This model ignores the first 2 wounds from each hit it takes before any armor or endurance. Next up, we've got the Traveling Monk. Key attack. Uses the d8 for one of this enemy's melee to hit rolls each attack, or for all if you're on the brutal side. Healing. At the start of each turn, heals d3 +1 wounds from himself and each other rival enemy on his map tile. Roll once for all. My God. And then the Sacred Bell. On any turn in which the Hold Back the Darkness roll is failed, all rival enemies on this model's map tile gain cover 4+. Here you've got the Samurai. Sweeping Strike. When making a melee attack, also makes his full attack against each other hero adjacent to the target. Warrior Tactics. All enemies within 2 spaces of 1 or more Samurai Warrior rivals gain +1 defense, including himself. And then Fury. At the start of his activation, each turn gains 1 Fury token. This enemy's combat hits are +1 damage for each Fury on him. Whoa. again, like, why aren't we that strong? And that's it. So that is our look at the Samurai War Party rival hero set for Shadows of Brimstone. Again, this came with the Kickstarter for Shadows of Brimstone Adventures. These guys look pretty brutal. I look forward to someday facing them, hopefully with a full party of level 8 heroes, and hopefully surviving. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments what you think about the insane power of these characters. Let me know too if you've actually faced them yet. Maybe you pull them out and got your ass whooped by them. I'd love to hear about it. That's all I have for today, and I will talk to you later.